topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. Happy Tuesday. So wonderful to be here with you. And I was in Washington, D.C. just recently, and what was interesting was that in the hustle bustle of the city, it's a beautiful city. I saw an old lady just kind of waiting. I was in the car and saw an old lady waiting, she couldn't cross really fast. And what was surprising was that all the drivers just stopped and they just, it was just beautiful. She was hesitant to cross, and even though the sidewalk was not on, they let her cross. And just so one driver, all it needed was one driver. He had backed up a little bit, but she was able to cross the street. And that was a beautiful sign to watch. So thank you, everyone, for getting our books. For those who have not, please do get our books because they will change your lives. Whether it is The Entrepreneur's Garden, Expert to Influencer, Your Mastery, or any of our books. And also I'm excited to share that I will be releasing a book this year. I'm writing a book on artificial intelligence. And if you are interested in learning how we do the whole book launch, please email me to contact@divyaparekh.com, and happy to make you part of it. Let's invite our guest, Dr. Cristina Leira. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? So tell
Wonderful
us.
to be here.
Awesome, good to have you. So do you recall a moment or a person in your life who left a positive mark on you?
Yes, I'm living with her now, my mom.
How did she impact you?
Well, she was born with a disability, walking disability, and that never stopped her. She never complained, only now because she's not that independent as she used to be, but she never complained. She always rose to the occasion. Interestingly enough, my father was a foot doctor, and that's the way they met. She could not be operated on, and he fell in love with her malformed feet, and that's the way they married, and they were together until my father passed in 2009. And so now I am in Argentina because she had a heart failure just a few weeks ago, and I had to fly overnight from the United States to be here and take care of her. And even now, she doesn't complain. Even now, she's full of strength. So yeah, I'm living the legacy of resilience, the legacy of acceptance, but not giving up.
That is such a powerful thing, and for her too. And that's so beautiful that she doesn't let the external circumstances deter her from the person she is and becoming that person.
Exactly right.
So you have been working, helping people with neuroplasticity. So how did you get into the neuroscience?
Have you ever watched the movie Forrest Gump?
Oh, yeah.
that's pretty much my life. I never planned anything. It just fell on my lap. I just follow through. So I started my life as a linguist. In fact, here in Argentina, as a translator and interpreter and teacher, and I taught at all levels, elementary, high school, university level. Then life took me to the US, where I did my master's in applied linguistics, and I sitting next to this lady when I was doing the master's, she said, "Oh, would you like to teach this bunch of people? They need to learn Spanish." I'm like, "Here, I just came to do my master's and go back home." She said, "Oh, you will love it. It's with Navy SEALs." And this is 1996. So I was like, "What are SEALs?" I'm like, "SEALs?" I'm like, "Stop it." So I didn't even know what they were. And so I said, "Well, whatever." 25 years later, everybody was gone, but I was the one staying. And so I started from the very low, teaching part-time, then teaching full-time, and then academic coordinator. And then I ended up on the government level as the program manager, leading Navy SEALs to learn the language and cultural awareness of the countries where they were going to lead their missions. And the beauty of that was that I had a chance to see the before and after, the before going to their missions, wars, and the aftermath when they came back.
Yeah.
And I found that our department, with people from all over the world, refugees, foreign nationals, immigrants like me, we were all like their happy place to go. Because when they came with us, we sat together, we ate the meals of the different countries, they learned the language before going, but after coming back, they still wanted to hang out with us. So I started getting intrigued about how, going to war and then coming back, how to adapt to that. But again, I was still a linguist. That's all I did. But in 2021, the program, after 25 years, the program was defunded. And I didn't want to look for another position. I was a GS. I could have definitely looked for another GS position, but I felt like it was my time to go. But in the meantime, I had started to feel a lot of intrigue about neuroscience and the science of the brain. Now, we're talking of 2017, 18. Believe it or not, it was not a big deal, neuroscience. Not many people talked about that. In fact, when I told my mom that I wanted to go and do my PhD on this topic, my mom was like, "You got to be kidding me. Do something tangible. What is that?" So I'm like, "Great." But I still did it. So that was the beginning. And I went back to school. When the program was defunded, I found myself unplugged. My identity was gone. I was invisible. So I had to reinvent myself. And then I had to apply everything that I had learned about cognition, about how the brain works, about neuroplasticity to myself. So that is how it all started. I never planned on it. I just felt drawn, and I just followed my intuition.
Yeah. So sounds like, you followed what was showing up for you. So there are a lot of people who follow the path where, like, you go to good schools, get a job, and, all the societal expectations, and they may have a definitive path, and people are not very much open to, like, okay, because as they're kind of growing through their lives, there are responsibilities. But then sometimes what happens is they're in their midlife, and then they start feeling that itch, like, where did my life go? What is happening? So what could they do during those times?
So midlife happens to all of us, and that is a very fortunate thing, because the other option is that we are not on Earth. And so the good news is we all get old. That is a fantastic news. Doesn't mean that we are useless, doesn't mean that we lose purpose. It means that we have to grow with the age where we are. We have to accompany the evolution of our body, of our soul, of our spirit. So in midlife, many times people are urged by society to stay where they were when they were 20s or 30s. And it's like running against the wind. It's going to be quite a painful path to do that. So when that happens, and it happens in different ways to people, right? We don't all age at the same pace, and it's fine. It's supposed to be like that. But when it happens and it touches us, we need to just start slowly saying, hey, wait a second, I used to do this marathon. Now I cannot do it. So instead of saying, if only, start saying, at least I can do a shorter marathon. And when you cannot do that marathon, you said, at least I can jog. And when you cannot jog, well, at least I can walk. And like my mom, when she cannot walk, she said, at least I can get out of bed. There is always an at least. And I think that midlife is about that, which is different from it's different from giving up. It's about letting go, let go of the hold of what is old. And believe it or not, sometimes the young part of us is old. Just we need to let go of that and then embrace the next level. And that is really when the magic starts to happen. And that is the invitation for those in midlife. Now, it's very easy to say like that in abstract terms. We all go through it differently, but in the end, it's the same. It's like everything, right? We are all humans. We are different, but we are the same. So this is the same. The experience of midlife is different, but it's the same. Now, when you have a midlife crisis that comes with a divorce or with a bad diagnosis or with losing your job, now things start getting even, or the advent of AI at your job, then things start getting more and more complicated. And that is the time when you have to take a good introspection at your own. At some point, we all have to do that. Either it's in the morning or in the evening. At some point, we have to stop and say, wait a second, where am I heading to? Because it's happening. The divorce happened, or the diagnosis happened, or the laid off happened. And at some point, if we don't want to go downhill, we need to stop. We need to just stop and say, hey, this happened. So now I have to reinvent myself, which is a word that is very, very used and soon to become a cliche, but it's really a beautiful word. Reinvent, right?
Yeah,
but it's soon to
it is,
become a
definitely.
cliche.
Yeah. So you talk about symbolism. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, symbolism is something that goes very much to the heart of my life. In fact, my thesis was based on the study of symbolism, how we use religious symbols to cope in times of adversity, not because of the religiosity of the symbols, but because symbols bypass our analytical mind. So it speaks directly to our deeper level of our identity. So symbols is metaphors, archetypes, affirmations, and if like, and again, the symbols are in the 5 or 6 senses, right? You have when you have some incense, it's symbolistic of, elevating your brain, your mind, your thoughts to the high above. When you play music, sacred music, or any type of music that elevates your spirit, it's another type of bypassing the analytical mind and going to that part of the subconscious that tells you all is well, you're fine. That is what symbols are about. It's a way to tell you all is well. You cannot understand it, but all is well. So why is it that when we are going through something really difficult, we don't want to sometimes talk with anybody, but you just play the music, or you just go for a walk, or you just sit. I mean, I love trees. And I just sit with the back on my
So definitely symbolism, I think so. It's the rituals and thinking about, as Dr. Christina will join us back, is that think about even when we look at the holidays, we look forward to it because it could be, for example, Christmas is symbolic of love, peace, and joy, and a season of giving. And similarly, like, it could be Diwali, which is symbolic of light of festivities, which is spreading the light through darkness. So having those symbolisms, having that symbolism in your life can be very, very powerful. Now, when you're thinking about, all right, how can I bring symbolism in my life? I invite you to think about not bringing it in, but recognizing what you already have in your life that you can use. And so I'm going to share a few of the transformations that you can bring in your life with symbolism. So, for example, I will share with you that for me, nature is symbolic of rejuvenation, of the beauty and eternal nature, of the permanency, and yet of the change. So, just for example, just want to share, like, today it was so beautiful. There was this, I'm sure you've seen it 1,000 times, but it's about taking that pause and looking at it as we are going through the summer. What's happening is that the squirrels and birds, everybody's getting ready to prepare for the winter. So I see this beautiful squirrel, holding that black walnut in her mouth and just kind of going, and acorns, and like hiding it somewhere. So finding that symbolism in your life can be very powerful. So yeah, please continue.
It's beautiful what you said, because symbols are simple. We don't have to go to Tokyo, to the most beautiful shrine place, to feel like we are one with the symbolism. You can live in a little apartment and you can find symbolism in, like, holding, as I'm doing now, a little cup that my grandmother used to drink from. That is symbolistic of all is well. My grandmother made it. My mother is making it. So symbol is, the message is everywhere and it's so simple. And that is the thing. Sometimes we overcomplicate, where is the symbol here? And we think about, and then we become what symbols are not supposed to be, which is we cannot go through the beauty of symbols when we analyze it, when we go through our analogical brain to say, okay, let's see. No, just shut up, be still, like the Bible says, right? Be still, and the waters calm. That is what symbols are about. Be still, contemplate. Sometimes it's funny. I in the US, I wake up with classical music and I go to sleep with classical music. Well, I turn it off at night, otherwise my husband would strangle me. But that is what I need throughout the day. But here in Argentina with my mom doesn't like to have anything in the background. So I'm like, okay, because I need my music. But then I'm like, Christina, be still. Probably the message here is the symbol of silence. Be still, be silent. And I am gaining another beauty of silence. So that is symbol. It's where you are, what you have next to you. That is the power of symbols.
Absolutely. So let's say as people are going through the tough times, you mentioned about few instances, and there can be 1,000 instances which can immediately push a human being from a place of calm to a place of chaos and overwhelm. What rituals or what symbolisms or what symbols can they find to help reframe so that they're able to transform themselves from that place of confusion to clarity.
So, as a beautiful question or comment, I would say it depends on the person. Like if someone is not very much connected to their um, spiritual life, so if you tell them go, and do contemplation in whatever denomination of faith you have, they will look at you like, no, thank you, that doesn't work for me, and they go back to their darkness. So I would say, for something to be more comprehensive for everybody, the first thing when you're going through a big unplug of comfort, right? You lost your job, or back diagnose, or a divorce that happens all of a sudden. Someone files for divorce. Okay. So I would say the first thing is silence, because that is what I did. When I lost my job of 25 years, and 8 days later, my husband lost his corporate job of 26 years.
Ah,
So 25 and 26 in 8 days. You cannot
difficult
make this
time.
up. You
Mm,
cannot make this up. It's 2021. We
mm,
survived COVID, and we were both saying, wow, we kept our jobs. 2021, both of
mm,
us in 8 days. Now, my husband also had gone through some very serious health issues. So all of a sudden, health insurance, and me like, oh my God, and now what?
mm.
Because working in this time and era, working for the same place for 25 years is no longer an asset, it's a liability. It's like you don't have much diversity. Anyway, so going back to your question, what do we do? Honestly, I didn't go back to church or temple or whatever faith you have. No, I didn't do that. I felt like angry at the beginning. So I did silence. So that is the first thing I would say. Go to silence. Allow yourself to turn off the volume from outside. I didn't talk to friends. I didn't talk to anybody. I just went to my cave. I needed to hear my voice. So that is step one. Go to silence. Turn off the volume of the outside, because everybody will say, oh my God, what are you going to do? And he also lost his job. And now what? Are you going to lose your house? And how about the car and this and that and health insurance? So you turn that off. Turn off the radio. Turn off everything. Allow yourself to step two, which is cry, shout, do whatever you have to do. Allow your emotions to emerge. Because if you don't do that, then your genes will show up in like some cancerogenous cell, things will start going wrong if you don't allow the emotions to express. So without going to hit someone or doing something stupid, irreversible consequences like drink and drive and then you get a DUI, which is even worse, or go into drugs and then you cannot get out of that, which is even worse. So stop digging. Just cry. Just, punch your bed. Do what you have to do. I did all of that, by the way. Do all that. So that's number two. But then once you went through that, and don't give it too much time, because we love the victim thing, like, oh, poor me. So if you let it go through a long time, it festers and it becomes ingrained in you. Let's keep being crying. Let's keep being the poor me that lost the job, and my husband too. Let's keep being there. No, at some point you have to say enough. And that is what I did with myself. Enough. So I let myself probably like that, like 2-3 weeks, because it's 25 years is a long time. And then 26 years with him, it's a long time. So I needed to process that. So 2-3 weeks of that. Silence and crying and angry. Then after that, I'm like, okay, so now I need to do an inventory of what I still have. I can still walk. I still have.
Yeah, no, definitely. So picking up where Dr. Christina left, it also depends, what works for you. So these are the steps that work for her. And then you can pick and choose what works for you. So when she's talking about not staying in the area of the victimhood, because that can be a slippery slope. It's important to acknowledge your emotions. It's important to validate them. And it's also important to walk through them, because if you don't process those emotions, And if you don't walk through it, it's very easy because the brain loves to fester in the comfort zone. So
Right.
that, yes.
So
the key is that moving beyond it. So go ahead.
So after you have the silence and then the punching, not the walls, because then you still have to, call someone to fix the walls. Don't do anything that will make it worse. So punch your bed, put something that will not have long lasting or worse consequences. So select where your anger will be directed to. And then after that, start doing an inventory of what you still have. You still have legs, you still can walk, you still can breathe, and go to a slow, because I do have a dear friend of mine who had a huge accident and lost both legs, right? Speaking of resilience. But at some point when he started to recover, he said, but I still can breathe, but I still can smile, but I still can move my arms. So go to the at least exercise, at least I can. So it sounds like very small steps. I tell you, when you're going through the worst of the worst times, we can only take tiny steps, and it's fine.
That's correct. Tiny steps, as they say, and I'm sure you've heard this quote 1,000 times, that the journey of a mile begins with a single step. So taking those tiny steps really helps. And then the key is that sometimes you may feel that you need support. So it's okay to seek out the support, and you'll be surprised. So for example, for business owners, there is small business associations. If you're looking for a job, there are networks out there. So for example, in one of my local communities, there is a Triangle Tech network. So as you're moving through this journey, it's important to know where you can find that support as well while you're taking those single steps, because that social support can mean a lot. Any other thoughts on that as you were walking us through the steps?
I could not. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The question is that you talked about taking the small steps. Any other additional steps you'd like to add to it? So sounds like we may be having a connection problem. So what we are going to do is, as we talk about, yes, we can hear you. And we are just going to go ahead and kind of bring it to a closure. So here's the thing. Remember that finding the resources in your neighborhood is very important. And also there are so many. And if you are looking for resources, do reach out to me. Or you can, her email is info@drchristinaleira.com. And we thank you so much for joining us, because I'll tell you, without you, the show would not be possible. And the few things I'll share with you is that there are resources out there. There are books that you can get. There are networks that you can connect with. There are meetup groups that you can find. And also, we are here for you. You can reach out to me anytime. Happy to support you. So thank you for joining us. And thank you, Dr. Cristina. And thank you, Juan, for making the show technically possible. Take care and be well.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.